Now, almost $2 million will be spent developing an integrated training for shearing and wool handling, where skill shortages are dire, as COVID-19 border restrictions on essential workers are mounting pressure on this part of our sector. We are going to discuss shortly the challenges with New Zealand Shearing Contractors Association President Mark Barrowcliffe. Good evening, sir. How are you tonight?
Not too bad, Sarah.
Good. Coming through
Sorry.
clear on the copper, I was just about to say. My apologies.
No, that's fine. We've got some nice rain here, so nice and warm. People can't be complaining around the King Country anyway.
That's good to hear, but apparently the rain is causing some strife with regards to a bit of a backlog, in particular in Hawke's Bay. How are your shearing members feeling about trying to get through this?
Yeah, well, in the North Island, we're sort of just finishing off, really. But yeah, the Hawke's Bay have been caught a bit of a late start, and yeah, they needed rain, and hey, now they want to shear some sheep, and guess what? They've got rain, so yeah, be careful what you wish for at times. But no, I'm sure they'll get some fine spells at some point and get the job done, so that we can send our staff off down the South Island and help the pre-lam down there.
Yeah, sure, of course. And Hawke's Bay, when it rains, it pours in more ways than one. Now, let's talk about the staff across the country and the skill shortage that we're facing. Can you give our viewers and our listeners a bit of an understanding about how COVID's dramatically affected the shearing numbers, shearers and, of course, wool handlers?
Well, funnily enough, we're actually in a way better spot than we could have been. A couple of years ago, we had a fairly substantial price increase, and that brought a lot of staff back to New Zealand, and they happened to just either get stuck here or choose to stay here during COVID. So if they hadn't have been here, we would have been in really dire straits. But yeah, funnily enough, we're slightly short, but not too bad really. So it's more getting the North Island to finish, and it's a bit like this local tourism, supporting our not going overseas for a holiday. We're staying in New Zealand doing the work for the New Zealand farmers. So that's awesome. So as long as our guys go down south and girls go down to the South Island, help them out, I think we'll be not too bad for pre-lam. It's more the November, December, January, February period, March, that we rely on heavily from overseas staff, UK and Australian shearers popping over to help us in our busy time, is when it's really going to hit the fan for us.
How many Kiwis were trapped at home that normally go overseas as well, shearing? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know that, sorry, Sarah, but I do know that I've got a lot more people that I know that I've shorn with in Australia, back here in New Zealand at the moment, doing the mahi here. So yeah, it's great to see them, and I'm sure they're loving being stuck back in their own country.
And you'll be very excited about the Provincial Growth Fund of $1.9 million going into some much needed training organisations. And these, could you explain around the micro courses?
Yeah, well, we lost wool training in the wools industry 4 to 5 years ago, so we've only had limited training. Prior to that, we had the best training in the world, so we've actually got very good trainers. We just needed a vehicle to be able to put them to work, training our staff, and it's something they love. So yeah, getting this grant from the government is for a pilot scheme is going to be great, because we've tried to fit into the rules given by government, and seeing as we're such a transient nature, our workforce, we didn't fit, and things started falling apart. So we're going to prove that this scheme, these 2 pilot schemes we got, are going to give us exactly what we need, what the employers need, and with the use of micro credentials, which is basically smaller bites of training. So hence you can move around. You don't have to start training with one person and stay there the whole time and complete their training, because their period of work doesn't go long enough. So hopefully it'll give a bit more flexibility. So we've still got a little bit of work to do, but the government's recognised the future in the wools industry, and we're part of it by cutting it off. So big ups to them.
Shearing Sports New Zealand has certainly suffered, and I know the Alexandra Fine Wool show has been a casualty of this. It's very sad to see. What's the sort of light at the end of the tunnel with regards to the shearing sports circuit?
Yeah, well, I can't speak directly for Shearing Sports because they're a totally different identity, but we obviously work together, and being a passionate show shearer myself, it's our shop window. So yeah, if we don't get people in from overseas, they're a big portion of our shows when they travel around New Zealand. But not only that, a lot of the shows are a rural gathering, a get together. So you've got that whole community yarn going on. So you start dropping that out, it's a bigger thing than just shearers and wool handlers competing at a show. But there's many industries are going to suffer the same thing for the next 12 months or more, I suppose. But as long as we all stay together and positive, and maybe we miss a year, but work on coming back stronger next year.
What about a bit of technology? We're all about the agri-tech space here at Cirrus Country and being innovative. Young Otago's Sid Strachan, 6 years old, sharing for a 10,000 strong online audience. That's a great shop window for shearing in New Zealand.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, it's great to see those young fellas doing that. And my kids are exactly the same. It's amazing what they pick up when they just sit there and watch you all day, and you think they're not learning anything, but then they just start repeating that. And I bet you that boy's only 6. And what you said he was shearing a teddy bear, did you? No? What was he shearing? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you set him alight on a lamb, I'd say, in a few years' time, and he'll be away.
Oh, I can tell you what, when I first short my first sheep at 33 years old, the cockies in the wool shed was surprised as well. And I think you're right. You do spend that many years rousing, watching, that it does kick in eventually. Now, Mark, just to close, so you're feeling fairly confident for prelam down south, but of course it's more the concern heading in towards the end of the year. Is there any messages you'd like to get out to farmers in preparation that could help?
Yeah, just onto the farmers one, just more earlier communication if you can. If you think you can come a little bit out of season in your own areas, that may help the peak workload for your contractor or contractors around that area. Obviously, everyone's a bit different. Some areas will be saying there's no shortage, and some areas will be saying they're in dire straits, and it just depends on their demographics or their age of their staff or whatever they've got going on. I know at the moment, I think shearers aren't too bad in the South Island, but they're definitely looking for girls. So, it's no good us cutting the wool off if we haven't got some, well, not girls, wool handlers, I should say, because girls and guys do both jobs in our industry. Without them sorting the wool for the farmer, shearers haven't got a job.
And actually, I'm just thinking back to an interview from yesterday. We spoke to Kate and Dave Ackland at Mount Summer Station. Kate was, of course, part of that wool working group report. And Dave Ackland is heavily involved in meat and wool for Federated Farmers. He was sending the message very clearly to our strong wool farmers of wanting to get a better price, start learning about shed preparation. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely. The strong wool sector is in a bit of a cost-cutting mode at the moment, and it's probably long-term it's not the way to go. But I think with this wool report that's been let out with Minister Damien O'Connor's group he put together, will give us some direction. And if we can pick up a few things off that and together truck onwards and upwards, hence why we need this training. We need trained staff to be able to do the job properly at the first point we touch it, because whatever we do, you can't undo what we don't do properly first.
There you go. President for New Zealand Shearing Contractors Association, Mark Barrowcliffe, thank you, sir, for joining us tonight on Serious Country. Some great messages there around what is happening in the wool sector over winter and, of course, going into that very important spring.
This is Serious Country.